Am I the asshole for not telling my dad that my mum got married? My 17 female parents got divorced when I was 12 because my dad had a 2-year-long affair with mum's best friend. It was really shameful because mum's best friend was with her since they were 3. My mum had been pressured by my dad's family that she forgive him, but instead mum decided to divorce him. A lot of the family members actually stopped talking to mum because of this, and some of her friends also took her BFF side. For this reason, my mum was very devastated. Over the years, she has been to 2 different therapists for the trauma she had. As for my dad, he dated my mum's best friend for a while before they broke up. This is when my dad realized he loved mum and tried everything to get her back. But my mum was stubborn and shut him off. He was still on and off with Sylvia, mum's best friend. I had to be in this mess, especially with my dad, who would always try to guilt trip me into convincing my mum into being with him. I've heard from him things like, "I wish we were family together. It was just a mistake. I'm willing to do anything to make amends. I just want us to be a family again, but your mum doesn't want to." I had enough of it. So when I was 15, I decided to stay with mum and only visit dad on weekends because I cannot handle his constant nagging. And also because during that time, my mum started dating Jack, who was the father of my classmate. My dad found out and started asking question after question about Jack. He wanted me to spy on Jack, but I had enough of it. I strictly told him that if he doesn't stop this nonsense, I would cut him off completely. A few months ago, my mum announced that she will be marrying Jack within a few days. They got engaged that day and only wanted a small ceremony with just a few family members. It was a small gathering of only 15 people, just me and Jack's son, along with some close family and some friends. The wedding happened in Jack's backyard. They had a photographer too, but my mum only recently posted the pictures after coming back from her honeymoon. My dad had no idea because my mum didn't want him to know anything. She was afraid that my dad would create some drama and cause a scene. I respected her wishes. My dad saw the photos and called me to confirm. I said yes, my mum got married a few months ago. My dad was angry. He called me a traitor and said I was an asshole for keeping it away. He has the right to know which man my mum was marrying. This was the last straw for me. I told him to F off. He had lost all right over my mum the moment he decided to stick his dick inside Sylvia. My mum knew that he was an unhinged person, so I'm glad that she didn't tell him. I also told him to leave us the F alone and cut off the phone. My mum also got messages from him. I read some of those. They were mostly of him accusing her of breaking up our family. Remind you, he is again dating Sylvia. I heard from my cousins that my dad has started to act abnormal ever since. I wonder if I went too far with it. No, not at all, OP, and I'm sorry that you have such a crazy, abusive dad. Your mother did not at all deserve what your dad and Sylvia put her through, and she does not at all deserve the continued aggression from this man. This guy needs to get a grip on reality and just let go already. I honestly just wish that life would beat some sense into people like that, but unfortunately it doesn't always happen. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't think you're an asshole at all for what's gone on here. In the comments, Grootsuit Riot says, "He's got no business involving his child in such things, and you're right to not give in to his demands. I think you already know that, but if you need to hear it, there it is." OP replies, "I don't know if it is right or wrong to let your ex-spouse know if you are getting married. I don't know the protocol. I just respected what my mum asked me to do since she didn't want many people to know about the wedding. You did the right thing. The only valid reason for him to care would be knowing who is around his child. That would be his job to ask her directly, and clearly that is not why he cares. He shouldn't be asking you to report on her personal life. Poor kid. You've been involved in so much drama because of your dysfunctional dad. The protocol is that you can let your ex know if you're on good terms, but you really don't have to, unless there is some legal or financial thing that affects them. But it's absolutely fair to hide things from an ex who is unhinged or abusive or aggressive or does not respect boundaries. So your mum was completely within her rights to keep it a secret. You did the right thing by respecting her wishes. Your mum is a good person. I hope you and your mum have much happiness." Hell no, you aren't the asshole. Your father and his family are huge pieces of crap. Really? Really? They wanted your mum to stay with that trashy husband even though he's a disgusting husband. You're right. He lost any right on his former wife and his precious family the moment he cheated on her. Your mum had a really hard time overcoming the betrayal and divorce. I'm glad she finally found someone worth it. Congratulations on your mother's wedding." And OP replies, "Thanks. I am glad she found happiness on her own. I thought she might never date, but Jack seems like a nice guy. I'm still afraid, what if he turns out like my own dad?" Well, that sounds like a reasonable thing to be afraid of, considering what you've been through. I'm concerned it might be impacting you too much, though. Do you think it might be helpful to discuss that fear with a therapist? I think it might help. OP says, "It probably would, but it won't prevent it, would it?" I went to therapy for my own anxiety and fears, where a lot of it stemmed from my parents' relationship growing up. It's not about preventing it, but regaining control. I still have those thoughts, but they don't consume me anymore or incapacitate me. They used to control my decisions and how I formed relationships with people. Now I can rationalize through them and move past those anxieties. Not the asshole, although I'm pretty sure you know that already. Your dad literally effed around and found out. It's not your fault he's not happy that he can't just do what he wants with no consequences, or the rest of the world moving on without him, let alone if he's genuinely still delusional enough to think that's how it works. And now, onto the update. So, something weird has happened. A few days ago, Sylvia came to my mum's house. I was there. She was shouting at Mum and saying that she is stealing her man, my dad, away from her. She literally said, "You already had your fun with him. Why can't you just leave him alone?" My mum told her to get lost. Sylvia went on a rant about how much she is better than my mum, and even threatened that she would sleep with her new husband as well. My mum told her that if that ever happens, she will be doing her a favor by taking the trash out, and she trusts that Jack would never hurt her. My mum threatened to call the police on Sylvia, and that eventually made her leave her property. As much as I hate the drama, I must say watching that wretched woman have a meltdown because my dad was still hung up on my mum is precious. Apparently Dad dumped Sylvia again in hopes that Mum would see that he is dedicated to win her back. Who knows how long that'll last. My dad also got into a fight with a random person in a bar because he was drunk. I guess he's still coping with the feeling that Mum is not going to be with him anymore. Thank God the guy didn't press charges though. I had a heart-to-heart conversation with him, or at least I tried to. I asked him if he is so in love with Mum, then why did he cheat? His answers were illogical. He said that as a man, it is hard to control the urges. At that time, Sylvia was flirting with him and he took a shot. He knows that it is wrong. He thought that it would only be once and then he would dump her, but it went on for a long time. He said I won't understand it because I'm not a man. A man can cheat but still love his wife and would die for his wife. He loves my mum, but he still has urges to be with other women. This conversation was going nowhere. I didn't ask much. I just told him I hope his son-in-law treats me the way he treated my mum, and he never gave an answer to that. I still can't believe that he would to this day think he is the victim. Anyways, I'm thinking about moving in with my mum permanently. I know Sylvia would come by his house now. Can anyone please help me understand what he means by, "I always thought you cheat because you do not love that person"? Maybe I'm wrong in some way. In the comments, Shell4747 says, "Win her back? Dude, she's remarried. There is no coming back from that, especially given the amount of toxic bullshit she's gone through since she dumped him. I hope this is the final stage of your dad's grief for this self-inflicted damage. I guess some people really feel that drama equals love and intensity, but your dad needs to get a clue. Your mum isn't one of them. It was too late so many years ago, and I'm definitely team mum for valuing herself more than her wretched ex-husband did. Love, temptation, sex, etc. People vary so much, I don't think we can make blanket statements. But I would say that your dad loved the idea of himself, that he proved wrong by his actions more than he loved your mum. I think in matters as complex as relationships, a person with this in their family history needs to talk to professionals to help sort it out and get a healthy view of relationships rather than listen to their toxic drama dad. If you don't, there will be lifelong effects, and I know this through experience. Red of the Evil Dead says, "I especially don't get the win her back sentiment, because he just openly admitted that even if he does get her back, he will still cheat on her. She has made it abundantly clear that that is a deal breaker. Somehow he thinks, after all these years, that he can still be married to his ex-wife and have his side chick too. Cheaters make excuses. That's what he's doing. Anyone, man or woman, can keep it in their pants despite the temptations if they decide to. Exactly. If you truly loved and cared for someone, you'd keep your clothes on around others. It's especially shameful that he did this with her best friend. Not only did your mum lose her husband, she also lost a sister in a way. I can't believe people tried to tell this child her mum was somehow in the wrong for any of this. Did anyone at least tell her that her dad is a toxic and insane man and he would be right to cut him off? The audacity of this man to tell his teenage daughter that a man cheating is okay because he's a man. Really, dude? Really? I'm so glad OP is staying with her mum, because if she had been with her dad, who knows what kind of BS he'd try to brainwash her with. And screw Sylvia too. It sounds like she was forever jealous of OP's mum and tried to ruin her life, and then got progressively more unhinged when she realized OP's mum was doing great and her ex was a trash can. There is an overwhelming amount of rhetoric out there, even amongst some therapists, that like to hold spouses responsible for their partner's cheating. So much, well, what did you contribute to the strain in the marriage? What needs of his weren't you fulfilling? The funny part is, these asshats out there cheating on their spouses are usually failing to meet a bunch of their partner's needs, but the faithful partner still manages not to cheat despite not being happy in other ways. There are so many snake oil salesmen offering, for $1,500, a fair-proof your marriage. I know many people that were cheated on in their marriage. The myth of the frigid partner doesn't hold up. Many of them were often having sex with their spouses, but still the other person went out to get some strange. Some of the cheaters were even refusing sex with their loyal spouse. People are terrified that they could be a loving partner, think they know someone, and still get cheated on. We all have that same vulnerability when committing to another person. A lot of people soothe themselves over that fear by saying, "Oh, she must have been failing to do something to keep him at home." Or, "He must have been abusive behind closed doors, so she found safety somewhere else." Blaming the victim creates the comforting illusion that they could never be similarly victimized. OP sounds so mature, especially with the last two comments in the post. The actual audacity of her dad and her mum's ex-friend. How do you get to the level of shamelessness where you show up to yell at a woman whose husband you stole? It's even crazier because he's only using her for sex and won't even marry her, and trust his family to try to breach forgiveness. Glad OP's mum found love and happiness again. Here's what gets me about these situations. There are literally other people in the world. There are other people you could date, other people you could marry. None of this has to happen if you literally pick anybody else. Posted by user SimplePart187, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that I'm disappointed in her?" Hello all. It's been rough with my only daughter as of late. My husband and I, both of us are 55, have one daughter who is 30 female. We have been married coming up on 32 years soon. My daughter was in a long relationship and married for approximately 9 years, and for a long time I thought this was a good relationship, when out of nowhere, around 3 years ago, she decided to divorce her ex-husband. We were told that it was a mutual decision, but that ultimately, he wasn't the greatest partner, and there were many things that she was not satisfied with in their relationship, so she wanted to leave. We supported her decision. About a year after the divorce, she introduced us to her new boyfriend, and while my husband and I thought it may be a bit too early to date, we decided to continue to support and meet him. He was, and is, a very charming man who treats our daughter wonderfully, and you can tell she is extremely happy. Now to the argument. Recently, we were talking with one of our daughter's friends who was visiting our town, and we were discussing our daughter's job and her wonderful boyfriend. Her friend in the conversation made a comment about how they were lucky to be in the same orientation together when they started work. As soon as she saw our confused faces, she gave us the full story, as she realized we hadn't been given it. Our daughter had told us while her and her boyfriend worked for the same employer, they didn't meet until after the divorce. We pressed the friend for more information, and she begrudgingly told us that our daughter and her boyfriend had met during orientation at work while our daughter was going through her marital issues. This led to them becoming closer and her filing for divorce from her ex-husband about a year later. So later that day, I asked to have a conversation with my daughter and brought up what her friend had told us. She turned white as snow, basically confirmed her friend's story but reiterated that there was no physical cheating. I told her that physical cheating was not the only way that you could hurt someone, and that it appeared that she had emotionally cheated on her ex-husband. He may not have been the greatest person, but it didn't excuse her actions. I told her that I was disappointed in her, and while I supported her leaving a bad marriage, that I couldn't look at her and her boyfriend the same in this new light in regards to cheating. I still love her and will treat her boyfriend with respect, but it is definitely something that I have a hard time looking past. She got angry with me for not continuing to support her in her journey beyond divorce. Am I the asshole? I guess this is a very hard one to tackle. It does seem as though there's a lot of missing reasons going on. I feel as though this relationship that formed between them was a moral grey zone. The way that you structure this post and the way that you talk about her and her relationship, it seems as though you are very quick to judge and not really truly see where she's coming from. So I guess it's a bit of you're the asshole for this one. In the comments, Amp Rose says, based on how judgmental you come across in this post, it's no wonder your daughter doesn't open up and talk to you about most things. It sounds like she never truly confided in you with her marital issues, especially since you were shocked when she went to get a divorce. Quote, out of nowhere, around 3 years ago, she decided to divorce her ex-husband. That being said, you have no idea how bad things were for her, or what she was really going through leading up to that, and if she had a coworker that she could confide in and that supported her, that's great. She deserves to have someone there who she could. Marriages end long before the divorce is even requested most of the time, and if that friendship and support turned into something more after, then good for her. You're her mother. You can be disappointed and think you know better all you want, but pulling your support from her and talking down to a grown adult woman, you're the asshole. She may be your child, but she isn't a child anymore. It's her life, and she deserves to be happy. Sky Corrigan says, I completely agree with you. I also find it funny that people will say, hey, if you meet someone outside of your relationship and you start having feelings for them, don't cheat, just leave your partner. Apparently people don't feel that way. It's a no-win situation, and also OP thinking waiting a year to date someone is too soon is lol to me. Speaking Knight says, yeah, I think timing and intentions is the important thing here. I've heard a guy before say that he's going to leave his girlfriend, but only wait till he meets a new girl to do it. Almost like he didn't want to be alone for some reason. That I find terrible. The girl has no idea and is wasting her time in life with someone who wants to leave her. But if the timing of divorce happens to coincide with meeting someone new soon after, not much to do there or feel guilty about. One day I was at the pool with my son and got to talking to this man. I found myself not wanting him to know that I was married, and that's when it hit me that my marriage, which had been rocky for years, was probably over. I didn't do anything with that guy, but I did get divorced. Took me way longer than it should have. Point being, it could well have been that OP's daughter was in a bad marriage, met this guy she realized would be so much better, and that gave her the impetus to realize her marriage was over. Hurricane Bells says, you're the asshole. It's not your business. She isn't 20 years old. I'm 42 and I don't really give a damn about my mother's opinion. Keep heading in that direction, won't you? Even if she were 20, it wouldn't be her parents' business. It stopped being their business who she dates and why when she turned 18. And 18 is about when the daughter married. Now 30, divorced 3 years ago, married 9 years. OP, you're the asshole. Stay out of it. While emotional cheating is a thing, you have no evidence that it took place. Added to that, I'd question why your daughter wouldn't go to you for support when her husband was mistreating her. And now, onto the update. Answering some common questions from all of you. 1. Yes, my daughter got married at 18. Her ex-husband was also 18 at the time. Me and her father did not think that getting married that young was a good idea, but we supported her as she was an adult. 2. I did not have a good understanding of what the marital problems my daughter was experiencing were, but she confirmed that there was no abuse from her ex-husband. 3. She has always been a very private person, but that has never been an issue as she has always been honest with us. On to the update. I received many messages and comments from you all, and I do appreciate the advice and wisdom that you all gave. I think the thing I struggled with the most was being lied to. I felt hurt that my daughter didn't want to tell me the truth, but I realized that this discussion wasn't about me. So I asked my husband for advice, and he recommended my daughter and I sit down together and talk it out. My daughter agreed to talk to me with the condition that my husband mediate. My daughter started the conversation with that she didn't tell us about the true story about her boyfriend for two main reasons. 1, she was worried about being judged by me, and I confirmed her theory. Hearing this made my heart so sad, to see that my own daughter was worried about my judgment. 2, my daughter admitted that she was ashamed for how things went down with her divorce. She and her ex were going through some rough times, her work schedule being crazy, and her husband being depressed contributed. She met her then boyfriend during this time, and confided in him about this. Before she knew it, she was texting him every day, and even going to his house to hang with him and her friends. She realized at that time she was wrong. So she filed for divorce, and they started officially dating the day after her divorce was final. She again said she didn't physically cheat, but admitted that she was not proud of how her marriage ended. The conversation then went to my side. I reiterated that I supported her and her boyfriend. He is a kind and nice man, and he treats her well, and that I loved her unconditionally. I apologized for how I acted and asked if she could forgive me. She accepted my apology and did tell me that while my words hurt, I'm still a good mother, and that my love that I've given her and her boyfriend has been consistent, and that my actions spoke to that. We agreed to go to some family therapy together in the future to continue to work out these feelings. We cried, hugged, and I think things will be okay. People can screw up, including myself, as my last post shows, but ultimately, good people will always be welcome in my home, and I never plan on changing that. In the comments, that Sloth Duke says, Reddit is effing weird. She did have an emotional affair with another dude while she was in a relationship. The mother was disappointed in it, and people just jumped to defend the kid? Really? Being disappointed because your daughter had an emotional affair is a bad thing now? Not only that, but she admitted that she started hanging out with a guy full-time before she was divorced. Psh. She wasn't happy in her marriage. She met someone she liked. She realized her marriage wasn't going to work out. She left her husband and started dating the person she loves. It happens. What was she supposed to do? Stay in an unhappy marriage so that the internet won't judge her? People fall out of love and in love with other people all the time. The only way she would be the villain is to stay in her marriage. She left so that she wouldn't have an emotional affair once she realized what her feelings were. Marriage usually implies commitments to another person, even if you're busy with work and your spouse is depressed. If you don't think there's any worth to keeping commitments like that, then yes, the daughter made the right choice, and when she falls out of love with her new husband, she can do it again. If your own personal happiness is the most important thing to you, marriage probably isn't the right thing for you. I don't think she's been convinced she was wrong, as per title. More, it's been confirmed that her worst suspicions were correct, but she's had to force herself to accept that. Well, the new information she got didn't paint a better picture of her daughter. She was stressed at work, her husband was depressed. Instead of trying to change the situation at work or trying to help her husband with his depression, she cheeks out of the relationship with a fun new work friend. OP is right. It might not be physical cheating, but her daughter abandoned the relationship as it got hard and her husband needed help. As far as we know, according to the information we got. Unpopular opinion, but I don't think you should force yourself to stay in a relationship you don't like anymore just because you feel sorry for the other person. I've been through severe anxiety disorder and some other health issues, and my partner stuck around because he loved me and he wanted to be with me. But if he wasn't in love with me anymore, I would want him to leave, so I could heal and eventually find someone more compatible. I don't think that a lengthy relationship is inherently a successful one, if both people don't feel happy and in love. Yes, abandon ship at the first difficulty if that's the kind of person you are, or if this relationship is not inspiring you to stick around. We shouldn't expect anyone to stay with us out of pity, nor should we want that. There is a lot of people up threads saying that she should have helped her husband through this depression, but the original posts are all told second-hand and give no context for how severe or long-lasting his depression was. I don't think that she handled things well, but I also don't think we know enough to declare her as someone who flaked at the first sign of difficulty. For all we know, it's been going on for years and she got to the end of her rope. Sometimes all the help in the world won't fix someone's mental health problems, even if you're both trying your best. How long are you supposed to keep helping for if you are miserable and nothing is getting better? A year? 5 years? 25 years? This is probably going to get me some hate, but I was almost in her shoes once. I was in a relationship with someone who started struggling with depression a year after we started dating. I did everything I could to help, got him to therapy, doctor's appointments, did more around the house. I forgave him treating me like a nursemaid because I told myself it was short term and things would get better. But they didn't, and 6 weeks turned into 6 months and into 6 years. The only thing that woke me up to how miserable I'd become was getting a crush on a close friend. Suddenly, I saw all the ways that I'd neglected myself because I was determined not to be someone who just abandoned their depressed boyfriend. There was no cheating for me. I never even told the friend about the crush, and it faded quickly once I realized it really wasn't about them, but about missing feeling cared for and human. But I could see someone else in those circumstances choosing to end the relationship to act on that crush, and I'm not sure I could condemn them for it entirely. Yeah, seems like a very contentious issue, this one. I can see arguments for both sides, as have been argued here. And as I say, it's a bit of a moral grey area. Without the entire story and without both sides, it's very hard to make a solid judgment on these situations. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one. Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user ThrowRA5998, titled, I, 32 female, am invited to join a get-together with 3 other women, female 30+, and don't know how to behave or act. Hello there. So I, 32 female, got invited to go to a get-together with 3 other women, 30+, their spouses, all male 30+, and their kids. Which sounds lovely, but is kinda my personal nightmare fuel right now. 3 years ago, I moved into a very, very rural area for my soon-to-be ex-husband. Shortly after moving, my car broke down, and I didn't have the money for a new one. Since then, I practically stayed at home all day. The only time I'm out of the house is to bring my son to kindergarten, bring him home, or when I need some groceries that I can buy in the very small shop here in the village. My social interactions were limited to some info exchanges with the teachers, sometimes another parent who wanted small talk, or the lady at the bakery who likes to gossip. Making friends was hard, as everyone here seems to always be busy. 6 months ago, I met this woman who we will call Jane. I don't talk to her on a daily basis, and we haven't exchanged numbers. She works at this small shop. Every time I buy something, we would chat a bit, and last week, Jane invited me and my son to just have a fun day with her, 2 of her friends, their spouses, and the kids. So I accepted. This get-together is next week, and I'm constantly going from excitement to panic to pure joy to mental exhaustion. I've been kept locked up by my soon-to-be ex for 3 years. I have no clue how someone behaves around others. What are topics to talk about? What topics to avoid? Do you still shake hands when you meet someone new? Do I bring gifts? These and more questions are constantly on my mind. I would love to have some friends, and I don't want to ruin it. To be fair, I thought I ruined it already a month ago. She did me a favor, and as a thank you, I baked her some cookies. I handed them to her while doing a bow like someone would bow to a princess, and said, I couldn't do favor, so the least I can do is bake. She smiled, but I wanted to run away as fast as possible. I'm so awkward and just don't know how to be normal anymore. I appreciate every advice, even if it's just don't pick your nose. I'm desperate. Thank you for reading. In the comments, Fraser says, you sound genuinely lovely, and these people will be lucky to have you in their lives. I find the best topic of conversation in social situations are often the most basic. You just ask people how their week is going and share stuff that's going on with you. It can seem awkward or banal at first, but eventually you'll find things that resonate. Congratulations on leaving your ex who kept you locked up, and good luck with that next stage of your life. And OP replies, thank you so much. The basics sound good. I can do that without making awkward gestures. Should I ask her if I bring something? Baked goods or a salad or whatever? Or would that be rude since I was invited? I don't know if locked up was the right wording. Turns out he had money on the side and could have helped me with a car. He also always had something planned when I wanted to meet someone. He basically ruined upcoming friendships for me, and he insisted to buy groceries after work, so I couldn't even do the big grocery shopping and get a change of scenery. I'm glad he's out of my life. You seem very considerate, OP, so I'm sure you'll slip into the swing of things like riding a bike after a few years. Even if you're a little rusty, you won't fall off. But you asked for pointers, so here are my social tricks. As far as I know, gifts are always in fashion. Hell, it might not even need to be a gift per se. Depending on what the plan is, you could bring paper plates, cups, napkins, food, drinks. I'd check whether alcohol is frowned upon, and so on. Also, I noticed that people respond positively to those who consider their children, so bringing games, toys, kids' movies, etc. might be nice. Check people's allergies and/or dietary restrictions if you bring food. If you aren't sure, I'd skip it or bring a few well-labeled options. Being overly formal can confuse a lot of folks. That's probably why the cookie bow felt awkward. A handshake may come across as formal, distant, old-fashioned, so I'd skip it. Instead, greet people with a wave and as genuine a smile as you can muster. Then introduce yourself and your son and express gratitude for the invitation. Something like, "Hi, I'm OP, and this is my son, Prince Awesome. We're excited to be here. Thanks for the invite." I rarely initiate physical contact and prefer to see if someone else initiates it by opening their arms up for a hug or something like that. If they do, and if you feel comfortable, a one-armed side hug seems easy and breezy. If they offer a handshake, then reciprocate, because I have been wrong so many times. Feel free to put your nervous energy to good use by offering to help. If you're in someone's home, ask if you can help in the kitchen, with setting up the yard or watching the kids for a bit. Don't go overboard though. Once or twice is enough. Anything more can seem insistent or avoidant, like you'd rather be busy than social. You're there for fun, not to reenact Cinderella. As for conversation, I've noticed that parents either love talking about their kids or crave adult topics. Do a little active listening to pass the vibe. You seem polite and attentive, so you don't have to initiate conversation if you have things to contribute to what other people are saying. Furthermore, I would not hide your divorce, but I wouldn't go into detail either. If someone asks, you can be brief and honest before redirecting. For example, "No, I'm not married," or at least I won't be once the divorce is finalized. "I'm looking forward to a new chapter. What about yourself?" Above all, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Jane wouldn't have invited you to mingle with her friends and children if she didn't like what she saw in you already. People won't dislike you once they get to know you. I'll wager they come away thinking of you as kind, considerate, and charmingly quirky. And now, onto the update. Thanks to those who gave me advice. It helped me a lot. I talked to my therapist about everything, and she basically said the same as the commenters. Be you. Be quirky. Who wants only boring friends when you could have someone who brings sunshine and fun into your day? So first things first, the get-together was cancelled. One of the women broke her leg, and everyone agreed to schedule it again after she's fine again. The day after my post, I asked Jane if I could have her number. Still awkward, I told her I won't call or write too much, and I would contact her for the get-together only. She laughed a sweet laugh and told me to contact her whenever I feel like talking about whatever I want. She would be happy because she considers me a friend. In my head, I was shrieking like a little fangirl. As we talked and texted for some days, she asked me if she could give a friend of hers my number. This friend is the other woman from their group, not the one with the broken leg. Shortly after agreeing, an unknown number texted me and introduced herself as Hannah. She didn't beat around the bush and asked if I wanted to come to her wedding. I asked if she was sure about that because a wedding is for family and friends. She wrote, "I am married already, but we didn't have a party. It was in the courthouse. We want to say our vows again and celebrate with loving people around us, family and friends. And, well, maybe we could be friends." We texted for a while, and she told me how good Jane speaks of me, that Hannah herself is a bit quirky, and she would love to have another quirky friend. I accepted the invitation. She told me the wedding will be at her farm, and she's looking forward to meeting me and my son there. She was also very understanding of my son's ARFID, and has no problems with me bringing some snacks for my son. I also promised to bring more so he could share if another kid wants some. All in all, I'm happy to meet new people soon and maybe make some more friends. And the best part is now I'm texting with two lovely women whenever they have free time, as they are both busy people. I'm glad that I posted on Reddit. It kind of gave me a confidence boost and I was able to ask Jane for her number. All I've experienced since then was pure happiness and joy. Thank you again for reading. Edit, Thank you so much for your stories, the wishes, and the awards. I didn't think this would be seen by many, and I just wanted to update for the people who read my first post, in case they were interested. I'm also glad that this update gave others hopes for their new friendships. It wasn't easy for me to ask for Jane's number, but so rewarding. I will update again after the wedding, which will be in roughly 3 weeks. There, I will get the chance to talk to the third lady for the first time and see Hannah in person. I'm so excited. In the comments, Mitten Minute says, I am so proud of you for putting yourself out there. I empathize with you. I have always struggled to know how to behave around other women, especially when I really want to befriend them. You have broken the ice beautifully, and it sounds like Jane and Hannah are kind and welcoming people. I hope you enjoy the wedding and that these new friendships flourish. And OP replies, thank you so much. I still have a lot of work to do regarding myself. I still look at someone, think I would like to talk to that person, and then beat myself up with thoughts like, they have enough friends already, or out of my friendship league. Take my virtual hug. I'll cheer you on. You can do it. Control says, you have no idea how much this story of someone over 30 making friends made my day. Seriously, a ray of sunshine. Congrats. There is absolutely no /s in this. As someone over 30, I firmly attest that making friends post-college is difficult for the quirkier of us. And OP says to that, thank you so much. It really is different. In school, you see others almost daily and just decide it works. And now you have to schedule work, appointments, family, etc. on both sides to have time. International Bad says, OP got adopted by an extrovert. Good for her. I've never heard it referred to as this, lol, but I'm definitely the extrovert that adopts people where I live. Talking to others has always come super easily to me, and I also make it a point to learn and remember what folks are into. I love to do what I call friend matchmaking. Like, oh, you like to do blank? I'll have to introduce you to my friend blank. I'm also quick to cut people off who are rude or mean to others, so my roster of friends and acquaintances are all nice folks only. I really needed this wholesome post, goddamn. I love these women for opening their arms to OP and making her feel welcome. I was so afraid that it was going to end with, do you want to be your own boss? Let's talk about Amway. I met the sweetest lady at my work a few weeks ago, and she asked if I wanted to grab a coffee with her sometime. I tend to be a bit quiet like OP in the nervous to make friends department, but I figured, what's the worst that can happen? Amway. Amway was the worst case scenario, and that's exactly what I got. Who doesn't love some wholesome content? I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments below. Do let me know. And our next post is by user WanderingCat45, titled, would I be the arsehole if I spoke to my in-laws directly about wanting their help more with our kids? My husband and I, 32 male and 34 female, have 2 children ages 21 months and 4 months. Naturally, this is a difficult and challenging season of our life. Any parent would understand that we are surviving, but not necessarily thriving. My in-laws sold their house, which is 3.5 hours away, and purchased a home 1.5 hours away, under the veil of being closer to us to be more actively involved grandparents to our 2 children. Since they've moved, we do not see them any more than we did when they lived 3.5 hours away. This breaks my husband's heart. Added, they decided this move on their own accord, and told us for months it was because they wanted to be closer to us, which was wonderful to hear, and we were excited for them to be closer for things like Grandparents' Reading Day, at daycare, or for being there for Christmas Day with our kids. I encourage him to ask them directly to come visit or to come over XYX days that we are free, and encourage him to set up a plan with them so they know that we are wanting some help. 2 under 2 has certainly been taxing, and especially the last few weeks. Toddler tantrums, I've asked my husband to be more direct and tell his parents that we need some help and a break. He instead takes the passive approach of saying, if you're free and want to come visit, we'd love to see you, instead of a direct, we need help, can you come over? The in-laws have not taken him up on his offers to come visit. My husband is of the opinion that if they wanted to come see their grandkids, they would, so he will not beg or nag, which I don't disagree with. However, we are all at the end of our ropes, and some extra hands to help with the baby and entertain the toddler would be really helpful. Would I be the arsehole if I spoke to my in-laws directly about us wanting their help more? Additional context. We both have had several mental breakdowns in the last few weeks from overstress, frustration, and exhaustion. My family lives 1,500 miles away. We could hire a sitter or a doula, but this isn't meshed with my husband's desires for his parents to be more actively involved in our kids' lives. Edited to add, we are certainly not hoping for someone else to raise our kids. We are also not asking for them to come over and babysit. We are asking them to come spend time and maybe feed the baby for us while we tackle some chores or play cars with the toddler so he gets some more one-to-one attention. Edited, we are not looking for a babysitter, nor is our intent to leave them with our kids and we leave to go do our own thing away from the home. We are hoping/asking for them to come join in on our crazy on a Saturday for a few hours. Our kids are in daycare during the week and we both work full-time. We are not looking for childcare solutions, just a little relief from the crazy on Saturday now and then. I'm also asking mostly because my husband wants to have his family help and is heartbroken they don't want to help more. We can totally hire someone easily. I'm asking how or if it is appropriate to tell them directly that we would like their involvement specifically. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel like I would be the asshole for intervening between my husband and his parents, that I may be crossing a line. I also feel that I may be opening a can of worms by creating confrontation with them and putting us further than we already are with getting help, but upsetting them. Unfortunately, I think that you guys have kind of dug your own grave in this situation, and that, yes, if they did want to come help you guys out, they would do it. I don't know why you continue to set yourself on fire defending your husband's pride and not just getting a sitter, babysitter, nanny, doula, whatever. Just do it. Just do it. It's obvious that the parents aren't going to come do it. You're going crazy trying to satisfy everyone, and I don't think it's worth it, and I think it's making the situation worse for everyone in the meantime. I'm going to have to say that you're the asshole for this one. In the comments, Parsimonious Salad says, "You're the asshole. You and your husband chose to have these kids. They are your responsibility. Your husband's approach with his parents is fine. If they want to help, they will initiate it. You are not entitled to anything from them, whatever your husband desires. As you said, you can hire a sitter, nanny, or whatever. Why do people with 2 under 2 think they are heroes that we owe our time to? It's maths. You're the asshole. Also, they chose to have the kids so close together, why should anyone else care? People can't take care of one kid, and they decide to have a second one while the first one is a toddler, and then they ask for help from parents under the guise of visiting, who, unless have forced them to have kids, have no responsibility. You reap what you sow." She does not want to lie. She wants to explicitly ask them to come over and help with the children. Yes, you would be the asshole. Your in-laws aren't obligated to help you with your kids. If you need help, hire some help. You even say in the post that you're able to do so. It's sad that they don't want to come visit more, but I think your husband is taking the right approach. I don't see how making it clear what you actually want them to do is work, not just visit, is going to make visiting any more appealing to them than it seems to be now. OP replies, "Oh, that is a solid perspective. I didn't even think about that. Thank you. I'm glad I asked." For what it's worth, I disagree completely with the poster above. I think it's totally fine to ask family for help. They moved closer to you to help. It's obviously something they're in principle prepared to do, even if they might like the idea more than the practice. I don't think that you should go behind your husband's back, but I do think you should push him to be a bit more direct and at least invite them for a specific day, rather than a half-assed, "Oh, we're free X day if you're available." Even if he isn't prepared to say, "Hey, we're struggling and would really love it if you'd come over one day and maybe watch the kids so we can get some stuff done around the house," which I also think would be totally fine. Just one question though, did they move closer to help or make visits less strenuous for themselves? An hour and a half away isn't exactly just around the corner and definitely precludes dropping by unannounced, but is close enough to make it a day trip instead of an overnighter that a 3.5-hour drive would necessitate. Agreed. I get the impression that moving closer to be involved to the grandparents meant not having to miss on a birthday or family dinner because of the drive or planning to be near for future events like sporting games, recitals, etc., not necessarily involved in being an on-call nanny. Posted by user No More Promises 02, titled, "If he doesn't buy his plane ticket on Wednesday, I'm done." My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 21 female, have been together for close to 2 years. It's been long distance this whole time, and not once has he come to visit me. 6 months into our relationship, he was talking about coming to visit me, and it kept being pushed back month by month. We had a very in-depth talk about his financials early on in our relationship, because being responsible is important to me, but it's not something that he's good at. Over the 2 years I've known him, the most he has ever had in his bank account is $500. I've offered many times to do his finances for him and write out budget sheets, and each time I did that, he wouldn't use them. For the past 4 months, we decided that he would visit me mid-June. Mid-June is in like 2 weeks now, and he still hasn't purchased his flight. Literally, all he has to do is purchase the flight. The hotel rooms, food, events, all of that I am taking care of. I'm just so sick and tired of being an afterthought. I'm currently trying to go to college and get my foot in the door so I can have a career, but he has no drive for that. It seems like he's fine working a bottom-wage job for the rest of his life. I don't want to be someone's sugar mama for the rest of my life. I don't want to support him financially forever. Independence is something that I value, for both me and my partner, and he doesn't have that. I have offered to fly over multiple times, but he doesn't want me to spend a bunch of money because of him, so I haven't. Yet I've still borrowed him hundreds of dollars so he can make rent or eat. He has a job that pays about $18 an hour, and he lives with his parents who don't charge him rent. He literally makes more than me, has to pay less than me, and has no money, yet he can't tell me where the money goes. FFS, I'm just tired of it. If he is unable to visit me in June, we are done. Hell, we might be done regardless. Anyways, thanks for listening to my little rant. In the comments, Jew Librarian says, "Be done now and save you the anxiety." OP replies, "I'm thinking about it. Regardless, I'm waiting until next Thursday. He has that day, end of the next off, so if I break his heart on Thursday, he can grieve on Friday and not be torn up at work or something, I guess." Let him be torn up. He didn't deserve you. OP replies, "Aside from the financial stuff and a few other things, he really is a great guy, to be honest. He deserves a good woman, but I just can't be that woman right now. I don't want to hurt him any more than I really have to. I'm not the type of person to be able to intentionally hurt someone, even if they might deserve it." He sounds like an overgrown kid. You are 5 years younger, but you are much further into the adulthood life phase than he is. And OP replies, "Yeah, I'll give you that. I had to grow up pretty damn quick. I guess I just wish he and I were both on the same wavelength." So, you two only know each other virtually? Sorry, but that's not a boyfriend, but a pen pal. That aside, if he wanted to be with you, he would, but he just doesn't care enough. Do yourself a favor and dump his sorry ass. He is 5 years older than you and doesn't have goals. What does he even bring to the table? Date people, not projects. OP replies, "Yeah, I'm starting to see that. Took too long to open my eyes. Better now than never. Don't beat yourself up." And OP says, "Yeah, for sure. I might be late to the party, but I'm still young. I still have my whole life ahead of me." So he lives at home and doesn't pay rent, yet you're lending him money to make his rent? And OP says, "He moved in with his parents recently. He used to have roommates at the beginning of our relationship." Right, that makes more sense. Hopefully he does right by you, but it doesn't sound good. Is he aware of how close to the end of the relationship you are? Or is this a case of, "You failed to read my mind, so we're done"? Either way, it sounds like he needs to get his shit together and prioritize. Unless he already is prioritizing, in which case that shows you where you stand on his priority list, and is telling in and of itself. Either way, I wish you well in finding the resolve that you seek. OP replies, "I've had multiple conversations with him about it. We even took a break back in October over something similar. It was probably less than 2 weeks ago that I brought this up again. Thank you for your well wishes." And now, onto the update. Thank you to everyone who commented for the much-needed reality check. The wake-up call was long overdue, and I decided to break up with him last night instead of waiting until next week. He didn't exactly take it well, and kept asking me why. I explained everything I possibly could, and he still didn't get it. He was convinced that something happened recently in my life for me to randomly break up with him. In the end, he accepted it, but is questioning whether or not he and I can reconnect in the future if he and I have both grown. I kind of left the door open, which I don't know if I should have, but aside from the issues I listed for him, he really was a good partner. He wants to still be friends, which I'm not sure about at the moment. I told him we need at least 3 or 4 months before we even attempt to speak again, which I know is difficult for him. He already texted me a handful of times. I just hope he'll be okay. Thank you everyone for opening my eyes. I hope that this will be my last update, but if we somehow do reconnect in the future, I will let you guys know. In the comments, McMurmel says, I read your last post. You did the right thing. I would keep distance and do not consider getting back with him later. He wants to because he doesn't have to do any work or effort. You don't need it. OP replies, I think more than anything, I left the door open so that he wouldn't take it as hard. I know that's harsh, but I know he's going to move on eventually. I don't like lying like that, but if I had to cut ties completely, I feel like he would have done something to himself. And just in case of that possibility, I texted his mum to see if she would keep an eye on him. Susie Sunshine 17 says, time to block him. You are being too accommodating. He has disrespected and ignored your boundaries and is pretending not to understand. No contact means no contact. He doesn't respect your no, and that's huge. Block him so he can face natural consequences of his bad behavior and so that you can end this frustrating chapter of your life. And OP replies, yeah, I know. At the moment, I've just silenced all messages from him. I'm not going to respond to anything. I'm just going to monitor it for a bit until I know he's not going to self-expire himself. Those threats are a form of emotional abuse, by the way. He is not a good partner. You were merely a convenience to him. Also, you established a boundary by refraining from contact for 3 or 4 months, and he immediately bulldozed it by sending you text messages. I seriously suggest you block him from everything, including your mind, and move on. He's been a waste of time all along, although I do hope that you learned a thing or two about life and of yourself. P.S. I see that you were soft with him because you fear he might harm himself. I can't be sure, but if he hasn't made any attempts at meeting you for the duration of your relationship, I highly doubt that. You were a constant in his life, sure, but that's no longer a concern of yours. Oof, pretty messy situation that one, but I can't blame OP for setting up those boundaries. I can blame him for stomping all over them. Love bombing and threats of abuse just come with the territory of some people like that, and as unfortunate as it is, feel like you've just got to be strong like OP and continue to ignore them and block them out of your life. Anyway guys, I'd love to know your opinions on this story. Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Throwaway23, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my friend to stop using my life to get petty clout and to live her fantasy somewhere else? I, 17 female, have 8 older brothers. Without getting into too much detail, there's a few adoptions and half-siblings in the mix, but I'm close to all of them, and while my life can be crazy sometimes, I wouldn't trade them for the world. It is also relevant that I don't have either of my parents in my life, and I haven't since I was 11. The issue involves my close friend, 17 female, who I have known since we were 4. For about a year now, she's been consistently posting on social media about her best friend's super hot older brothers, and the terrible tale of how she ended up in a love triangle with her best friend's brothers, and it's seriously annoying. She's never really had anything to do with my brothers. They know her as my little sister's friend, and nothing more, so I really don't see where all of this is coming from. Over the last few weeks, however, it has gotten so much worse. She'll actively tell stories to people at our school about the steamy romance that is her life, and bringing me a lot of unwanted attention. I have tried to talk to her about it, but she always says that she would never do anything to hurt me, and she's just living her life, which doesn't even make sense. I've mentioned it so many times that I've started to avoid hanging out with her because I know my brothers will come into it, and I'll have to ask her to knock it off again. Everything came to a head yesterday. We went out with some friends and 4 of my brothers dropped us both off. When we both got inside, half of the girls in the group immediately started talking to my best friend about the good-looking guys in the car, and whether those were the hot men that she was talking about. I snapped and yelled, "Those are my brothers, and I swear to God, friend, if you don't stop using my life to get petty clout, I'm cutting you off. Quit living your fantasy through me. Do it somewhere else." and left, which I feel like was really harsh and probably could have waited until we were in private. She called me later to tell me that she wanted some space from our friendship because I was becoming jealous, needy, and controlling ever since she got close to my brothers, which isn't even remotely true. All of my brothers so far have told me to just stop being friends with her, but she's been really important in my life for a long time, and I don't want to ruin what we have, but at the same time, I don't want to keep letting her use my life for her fantasy. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel like I was too harsh, but she's been doing this for a long time and never listened to me before. I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one. I feel like, yes, you have a gigantic amount of time so far of your life invested into this girl, but do not let the sunk cost fallacy cloud your judgment. If you feel that it's the right thing to cut this girl off or go extremely low contact with her, then I respect that. Yes, you've been harsh, but you need to be harsh with people in these situations. You being harsh wasn't rude, it was giving her the dose of reality that she deserves, and she continues to disrespect your boundaries, so why respect the friendship with her? I wouldn't blame you for going further and cutting her off, and in that case you still wouldn't be the asshole. Now in the comments, Emotional Koala says, not the asshole. Duckling, this girl is not your friend. Listen to your brothers. They sound like they've got your back and can see the situation with better perspective. Real friends listen when you ask them not to make you uncomfortable. Real friends generally don't drool openly about your direct family members, and real friends don't sulk and name-call when they get called out on their nonsense. Not the asshole, but it sounds like your friend is completely invested in your brothers being main players in her life fantasy. Pretty sure the only thing you can do to shut her voice out is to completely cut her off. It won't stop her, but you will no longer have to hear about it. Other than that, the only thing that might stop it would be for a brother to drop you off and shut her down directly before driving away. Not the asshole. I'd talk to your school counselor. Her behavior is too weird to be healthy. Not just that, but depending on your brothers' ages, could mess with their reputations. As all the brothers are older, most of them could be over 21, and these stories could escalate to having the police involved. Girl, she's fetishizing your brothers. Effing run, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone. I have a small update for those who would like to hear it, and I'd also like to say thank you to all the people who gave advice and opinions. So the first thing I did was have a proper talk with my brothers about everything that's been going on. I showed them the post and all the comments I received, and they took a minute to read them before speaking. One of my brothers, Sam, assured me they had never been flirty, romantically interested, or sexual with my friend at any point in time. There was never a time when any of them were alone with her for more than a minute. Not gonna lie, that made everything so much easier. I was terrified one of them was going to admit to having done something with her. We also talked about her recent behaviors. I told them about what she had been saying, and then Sam spoke up. He said that in the past, they had heard my friend intentionally telling people strange things about me in order to make it seem like I wasn't a person who you'd want to be friends with. They'd overheard these conversations at my house when I wasn't around or doing something and she was waiting for me. Things like, she's too clingy, or she's too controlling, to even telling people that I'd slept with one of my brothers. It hurt a lot. So you guys were right. She has been isolating me from people. After our talk, I needed to get some air, so I went for a walk. My friend ended up calling me, and I answered. I know, stupid, but I was hurt and wanted to know if she really had done those things. The conversation went like this. Her. Listen, OP, we've been friends for a long time, and I don't want to hurt you, but this friendship has become really toxic. I reply, are you serious? I know what you've been saying about me. You're a liar and a creep, and the only toxic thing in this friendship is you. She replies, I've literally never lied to you in my life, so I don't know what you think I've said or done, but you're wrong. It's not my fault people don't want to be your friend because you're weirdly possessive. I reply, you literally told people that you were dating my brothers. That's gross and really messed up. She replies, this is what I mean. You aren't acting like yourself anymore. I feel like ever since we got older, you've started to become obsessed with attention. I don't like this version of you. It isn't my best friend. I hung up after that, and now I feel like shit. She was my best friend. I have no idea what to do next because she hasn't stopped blowing up my phone since the call. I want to block her, but I just can't do that. I feel like an absolute failure. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do next. I want to tell her parents, but what would I even say? Your daughter's fetishizing my brothers. I have literally no evidence whatsoever, and I don't know what she's told them about me. Who knows? Any advice would be appreciated, since my brain isn't working right now, and all I've been doing is crying. In the comments, Throwaway 2005 stuff says, I'm really sorry that you're going through this right now. It's obvious that this situation is painful for you, and I give my condolences. I hope that maybe I can throw my hat in the ring here and hopefully suggest something helpful for you, though I might mess a thing or two up in my explanation, and I apologize in advance for that. Firstly, I think having a proper talk with your brothers was the best decision before doing anything else, as being able to get on the same page with them about the situation definitely seems like it helped a bit. Secondly, it seems your friend doesn't want to admit that she's wrong in this situation and is trying to play dumb, or might have convinced herself that she's doing nothing wrong here, even though that's clearly not the case. Finally, your choice of either telling her parents or blocking her might unfortunately be the best thing to do, as your brothers seem to think that that would be best as well. It's clear your friend doesn't value you in the same way that you value her, and feeding her fantasy won't make this better for anyone. I don't want to come to conclusions so quickly, but in the comments of the original post, I did see someone suggesting maybe speaking to a counselor at your school, and that might be the next best step if you're unsure what to do. If this behavior from your friend started last year, then maybe something happened to her that you don't know about, and she's doing this as a form of avoiding a potential problem, if this isn't something that she's done before. It could be wishful thinking on my part though. Keeping your feelings inside is not helping you, and I think that maybe venting your frustrations to someone just might help. Bottling up your emotions is not the best thing. I've done that a few times when I really shouldn't have, and it didn't help things. If a school counselor isn't an option for you, then maybe going to her parents to explain things would be best. I think you should maybe bring your brothers along to help back you up if you feel uncomfortable going by yourself. It will hopefully back up your claims, and hearing what she's doing straight from them might be the best thing. If that doesn't work, then I'm sorry to say, but blocking her may be the best solution. Though this might be hard to accept, cutting contact with her might be the best thing for the both of you. This whole situation sounds like it's affecting you in a negative way, and could potentially affect your brothers if someone chooses to believe some of the things that she's said about them and you. It sounds like it would be better if you two went your separate ways, as painful as that might be for you. I hope that some of this might be helpful for you, and that everything turns out well for you. That's all I have to say in terms of advice, but I do want to say one more thing. Do not blame yourself for her behavior. You are not the one in the wrong here. None of this is your fault, and you shouldn't put any blame on yourself for this entire situation. If you need someone to talk to, then I can try and lend an ear for you for a bit. I might not be a counselor or a therapist, but getting some of your frustrations out might help you feel a bit better. I wish you the best, and I hope that things get better for you. And now, on to the final update. So hi, me again. I don't actually know if anyone's still interested in what's happening, but I thought I'd update just for those who followed me. Long story short, I took your advice. I called my ex-friend and told her the following. I don't want you in my life anymore. And that was it. I know some people told me to set her reputation on fire because why not, but I feel like that would do more harm than good. And if she ever does grow up, I'm sure she doesn't want this whole drama fest to be tied to her forever. The first few days after that phone call were hectic. I couldn't stop crying, which made me feel pathetic, and I overall just felt lost. I haven't really made friends at school. Most people think of me as a weirdo who dropped her best friend of 10 years because she was jealous of her own brothers. So I guess lunch in the bathrooms from now on. I also got calls from my ex-friend's sister, who called me some names and ranted about how my brothers loved ex-friends so much and that I was such a cow for separating them. So I guess she's sticking to her story. So yeah, that's kind of it. I'm just spending time with myself and my bed. I don't know if I'll update again, but for now, that's it. Thanks again, everyone. In the comments, Acceptable Box 7500 says, I'm really surprised that the brothers aren't setting the record straight, not just for their sister's sake, but for their own. Best friend is so deluded. I'd be chomping at the bit to reject her narrative if I were them. Indeed, it's weird that she's seemingly alone in this. I don't know, they're all adults. What are they gonna do, walk around the high school parking lot talking to people? Seriously, going to a place full of minors and going, I have no interest in kissing, sleeping with, or dating this minor, when they are random grown-ass adults that have no business being there, is going to do the exact opposite. People really forget adults can't always get involved in bullshit between minors, especially when one is slinging around shit that gets people thrown in jail. These responses really are showing the age group that spends most time on Reddit, and it's not adults that have any real-world experience. Her friend is a minor claiming to have a relationship with adults who want nothing to do with her. She's basically putting them in danger of being accused of statutory rape by being in a relationship with a teenager. She did the smart thing cutting her friend off, but she should make sure to tell an adult like a counselor so there is a record of her friend's behavior. Her friend's sister is just as crazy if she thinks this sort of thing is acceptable. Depending on the state, 17 is usually the age of consent for most states, but that's just for America, so depending on her country. If the brothers are all being honest, which is always an if, then she absolutely needed to cut her friends off to keep them safe. If friend is living in an imaginary world, maintaining relationships with these 20-plus-year-old men, it's easy to see how someone overhears or reads her rantings and takes it to the police. Posted by user ThrowawayAcantMelt, titled, My 19-year-old sister is getting married to her high school teacher. My younger sister is getting married to her 36-year-old high school teacher in a few days, and everyone seems okay with it. She graduated a year ago, and they told us they were dating, almost immediately after the graduation. I was shocked and angry, but everyone around me was happy and supportive of them. The teacher divorced his wife 2 years ago and started paying attention to my sister. He spoke to her after class regularly and paid special attention to her studies. I thought this was weird and talked to my sister about this, but she told me he was helping her because she was the best student of her class, which she was. A few months ago, only a few months into dating, they announced that they were engaged. I tried to talk to my parents about their age difference and stuff, but they didn't want to hear it. I talked to my sister, and she told me she's happy and that she loves him. We live in a small town with a tight-knit community, and everyone else is supporting their marriage. I'm feeling useless right now, and I am angry at myself. I was unable to protect my sister. I feel like I failed my duties as an older sibling. I hate everyone around me. How do they not see what's going on here? In the comments, my cousin did this. She was a sophomore in college, and her professor divorced his wife and married her, and of course immediately impregnated her. 10 years or so later, he left her and married another student of about 20. As a side note, the guy looked just like Meatloaf. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Just be sure to be there for her in 10 to 15 years when he decides that she's too old for him. Or until he finds another best student. He's helping her because she's the best student in the class? What? Shouldn't he be helping the students who are doing the worst in his class? You can't forbid it, but you can voice your concern, which you've done. You haven't failed. You can't control people. You have to decide if you can support your sister's choices. Whether that relationship succeeds or fails, you can support her. The guy should be called out for grooming though, no? Exactly. I came here to say this as well. Sounds like he groomed her for a while. Absolutely disgusting. Sounds like Buddy was grooming her so he could lock her down before she can go out in the world and learn who she wants to be and know what she wants from life. Now he gets to use his authoritarian position to make those choices for her. That's not cool. She'll never get to experience dating boys, making her own decisions, renting her own first apartment. That's all gone now. Self-discovery is a huge part of our lives, and he's taking that all away from her so she can be taught like a dog on how to be his pet. I mean wife. You're right. The age difference is disturbing. While legal, there is such a huge mental gap where he could easily take advantage of her. Can I Steal Your Dog says, I am 22, and I call 18-year-olds kids myself, Lamau. The mental gap between someone who's just about to start uni and someone like me who graduated college last year is huge. And I still don't think that I'm a proper adult. In a few years I'll definitely be, but whatever. The girl is clearly unlucky and stupid. The stupidity seems to have stemmed from living in her tight-knit community. Quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. And now, on to the update. The marriage happened. I contemplated not going to the ceremony, but I didn't want to hurt my little sister, so I went reluctantly. My blood was boiling throughout the whole thing. Everyone who came to the ceremony congratulated them. I couldn't even look the teacher in the face because I was so angry at him. I hated the whole thing. I'm leaving this town tomorrow. I had some interviews lined up and got selected in one. It's in a city and I'm moving tomorrow. I can't stand these people. My parents think that getting married to a good guy with a stable job is the best thing that could have happened to my sister, and my relatives agreed. He groomed her. Why doesn't anyone else see that? I wanted to scream at everyone. When I told my sis that I was leaving, she cried. I reassured her and told her that I wasn't angry at her. I made it clear to her that she could contact me at any time, under any circumstances, and that I would be there for her. I bought her a phone and told her that I'd talk to her regularly. I tried not to antagonize anyone because I want them to reach out to me if anything happens. It was very hard to do. I came very close to fighting several people. My sister was a star student. I always thought that she would go to a big college and become someone significant. But now she's going to be a housewife. That thought is destroying me. I wasn't harsh on her because I'm hoping that she wakes up soon, and I want to be there for her when that happens. I want to support her and see her full potential, and I'm wishing it happens soon. Edit, I've told her not to have children until she's sure. She has a contraceptive implant, and I told her not to get it removed for at least a couple of years. I told her to tell me if anyone ever pressured her to have it removed. I really hope that she follows my advice. Edit 2, I'm just checking the comments, and the amount of people defending the teacher is insane. People like you are the problem. She was groomed since she was 16. Why can't you people see that? I wouldn't have any problem with her choices if she wasn't coerced into them. Him being an older man isn't my issue here. Him being her teacher is. Also, I don't think that being a housewife is bad. What I don't like is that the choice of something more is being taken away from my sister. As for the phone thing, my parents did not allow my sister to own a phone. She had to use the landline if she wanted to talk to people. That's why I bought her a phone. In the comments, The Unpolitical says, I went to high school where the water polo coach was dating a cheerleader. He got her pregnant and it became a huge scandal at the school. He was also my English teacher, and not a good one at that. But I knew that he was a creepy dude, as he creeped on all of the girls in the class. He finally got fired. I believe he was about 30 or 32 at the time. About 10 years later, he dumped the cheerleader after impregnating her 2 more times, found another girl at 18, and was with her for 10 years too. It's been 3 decades since I graduated high school, and he just dumped girlfriend number 3 who was 18 when he met her, and he's on 18-year-old girlfriend number 4 that he met in class. It's super gross, and I can't believe he still teaches high school English. Techie guy James replies, his teacher's license should have been revoked for his first violation of the student-teacher relationship. I have seen this personally. They usually just either say, the girls are 18, he isn't doing anything illegal, or fire him and say, the girls are 18, he isn't doing anything illegal. It happens a lot. As someone who has seen something similar when I was 18, nothing is forever. We don't write off our lives as much as we think. Always be a place of support for your sister and let her see you flourish. My friends dropped out of college for a boy and his horrible, horrible family who thought that women shouldn't be educated and should only be mothers and wives. I have always maintained a connection with her, despite my profound grief, and wouldn't you know it, her life is looking a whole lot different now. Always empower your sister. Use uplifting language when talking about her, keep channels open with the intent of vulnerability and honesty, and don't encourage her to pursue something else. She will see you as the enemy. Mick Foley, 13, says, hey man, it was cool of you not to blow up at the wedding. I would have ground my teeth down to nothing, but you being respectful and keeping an open line of communication with her is big, and I deeply respect you for that. At least she's 19 and has ample time to decide for herself if this marriage with him is right for her. All her friends will be going off into life, and for now, all she can do is watch from home. she can still change her mind and leave him. And maybe, just to lighten the mood here, if she does choose to leave him, she gets half of his stuff. That might be a bump up for her if she wants to go back to school and be independent. Mad respect for being a good sibling through all of this. And now, onto the final update. So I wanted to share an update on my sister's situation since it's been a year and the situation has changed significantly in a positive way. Since the marriage a year ago, I've made it a point to talk to my sister regularly on the phone that I gave her. A few weeks in, her husband started pushing her to be in a traditional wife role, which created a wedge between her and her friends. But I made sure to keep in touch and to visit her once every month. Her husband did not like that, but he tolerated it to keep up appearances. To deal with my frustrations, I joined a gym and started working out. Luckily, my boss at my job turned out to be a great lady who listened to me and gave me a lot of support and advice. She told me that I could call her when I needed help, and became my mentor and an older sister that I could lean on, while also paying me well. Some months into the marriage, her husband managed to domesticate her completely. She stopped going out almost entirely and had very little independence, and he tried to start separating my sister from me. However, because I kept a good and consistent relationship with her, he wasn't able to do it. A couple of months ago, he started hinting to my sister about wanting kids, but I kept repeating to my sister that she should not have children until a few years into marriage. Last month, he told her directly that he wanted children, and my sister told him that she wanted to wait. He started pressuring her to get her contraceptive implant removed, so last week I went back home to talk to him. I always try to be polite to him whenever I visit their home, so that he doesn't have any ammo to try to separate us. During conversation, I brought up that he was pressuring my sister to get her contraceptive implant removed. It escalated into an argument, with him saying that he had a right to have children with his wife. When I didn't back down, he got frustrated and took a swing at me, which didn't connect properly. I didn't hesitate in punching him back in his face. He fell backwards and started howling in pain. I wanted to do that since this whole ordeal started, and it was satisfying. I think him hitting me was my sister's wake-up call. He called the cops and told them that I assaulted him. Fortunately, I make sure to record everything whenever I visit their home. I use my Apple Watch for this, and it's a great tool for stealthy audio recording. I called my boss and told her about what happened, and she promised to send a lawyer just in case. When the cops arrived, my sister took my side, which surprised her husband. With me being a woman, and with the recording, the cops also took my side. The lawyer arrived after that, and I told her husband that I was taking my sister with me. He tried to protest, but the lawyer warned him that I would press charges if he stopped my sister from leaving. He reluctantly let her go, and she has been staying with me for the last week. My parents were furious when they found out that my sister had left her husband. They did not seem to care that he hit me, probably because I stopped talking to them. I am still talking to my sister about what she wants to do, and will probably start divorce proceedings in a few days. Her husband and my parents have been trying to call and get her to come back, but I've made sure that she doesn't talk to them without me present. Throughout the whole thing, my boss has been super helpful and has been giving my sister advice about what she could do next. I know that I'm super lucky that my sister managed to wake up so soon, and that I've had support from people like my boss. Throughout the whole of last year, I was worried about how my sister was going to end up, but I am elated now. In the comments, Ocean Duciel says, "Be careful. The reach abusers can have over their victims extends far. She might change her mind even with your support. Has she considered seeing a therapist or a counselor that specializes in treating victims of grooming? This really should be OP's next step. If her grooming habits kick in and she goes back, she might lose her sister again. I'm glad to see this happy update. Your sister is very lucky to have a sibling like you. Truly is. Can't say for sure that I would be half as amazing and thoughtful as she was, even if I wanted to. This whole affair just makes my blood boil, and I don't even know these people in real life. If it were me in this situation, seeing my little sister fall into a trap, I truly can't affirm that I would have been able to keep my cool for so long. Mad respect for Big Sister. It might be too late, and I'm not sure how it works in every state, but in WA, even if the student is legally an adult, you can report something like that to the teachers' union, and they will investigate, and he could lose his job. My mum worked for the union's legal department, and a relationship that publicly starts a few months after graduation would 100% be investigated. Good idea. And if they do wind up divorcing, there's 100% chance that he will do this to another young girl. There is 100% chance he's already doing it to another girl while he's still married. It's always predators that date teenagers. No one in their 30s and in their right mind would date a teenager. Red flags were flying high from the very beginning, but I guess the only sister was the one with some common sense. The parents are absolutely insane. Just glad that the teenager opened her eyes about her predator old husband. I've always thought this. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and even the thought of dating a guy younger than 25 gives me the ick, so it's absolutely mind-boggling to me that anyone would date someone that much older or younger than them. Our next post is by user AutomaticArt8237, titled, "Am I the asshole for having semi-long phone calls with my family while on my honeymoon? Me and my husband, 29 female and 30 male, are on the 5th night of our honeymoon out of state. Last night I got a call from my sister, 21 female, who lives with us, that my brother, 23 male, was in an emergency situation. We talked for about 30 minutes as she explained what happened. Some of it did involve cops coming to my home. Tonight, my brother called me asking my advice. The situation is very serious and may involve legal implications even though he is innocent. He and I talked for a half hour and my husband decided to try to go to sleep. I admit I should have left the room for the call, but I guess I thought that he was somewhat invested and might want to hear what was going on. He did chime in a few times to also offer advice to my brother. I offered what I could, being so far away, and we made a plan for when I get back. After that call, I immediately called my grandma, who is in the same town as my brother, to see if she could reach out and help him while I'm out of town. I spent 13 minutes giving her the rundown. When I got off the phone with my grandma, my husband was upset. He felt like I should have just had a brief conversation and reminded them that I'm on my honeymoon and to not disturb us. He was also mad that I spent so much time on my phone while he was trying to go to sleep. I would normally agree with him if it was some sort of minor family drama. However, we don't normally have any sort of drama, and this is an extreme situation. We are very close, and I didn't feel it was right to leave my younger siblings trying to figure it out themselves. He and I will discuss it in the morning if it's still bothering him, but I just have to know, am I the asshole for spending time on my phone with my family during our honeymoon? Edit to add, my phone call with my brother was to get a plan for when I get back, and my phone call to my grandma was to get him some emotional support while I'm gone. Both phone calls with the purpose of quickly, but compassionately, handling the situation to the best of my current ability so I could bring my focus back to my husband for the remainder of our trip. Realizing now that the purposes of these calls may not have been clear to my husband, so I will discuss with him when he's up in the AM. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I spent 45 minutes on the phone with family while on my honeymoon, and 2. We should be spending our honeymoon just us and not taking phone calls. Yeah, but it's an emergency situation. I don't feel like you should be judged for having to put this fire out in this situation. Like, I more than understand that having a honeymoon, it is about you two and the time that you can spend together without, interaction with friends and family. But if an emergency situation arises that needs your attention, I don't blame you for being on the phone. The only thing I could blame you for is potentially being in there while he's trying to sleep. But it's also odd to me that he was interacting with you and sharing advice, and then as soon as you call grandma, he's pissed off. Like, damn, it was a 17-minute phone call. It's not like it was hours on end. I don't really think your husband is an asshole for doing that. I just don't think he's being particularly compassionate about the situation at hand. I'm gonna go not the asshole for this one, OP. In the comments, Appealed Banana says, no assholes here? I mean, I think it's easy to see both situations here. A family emergency matters, but it is your honeymoon. It is hard, but it's just one of those things where both people are justified. Edit, key piece of info here. I spent 13 minutes giving her the rundown, grandma who is in the same town. It wasn't until my brother called tonight, and then I called my grandma that he got upset. Calling family to work things out is one thing, but when patience wears thin and you start spending time relaying information to someone who is there, husband has the right to be upset. doesn't make you the asshole, but it does mean that his position is understandable. Cat Duck Meow says, not the asshole if the phone calls were indeed 45 minutes all up. Have you double-checked how long each call was? I get that this is an emergency situation, but if it's something that can wait until you're back, maybe he feels like he won't have priority over others. I would think it's fair to let them know to keep you updated via text, but a gentle reminder that you're on your honeymoon, and once you're back, you will be able to give the situation more time and attention. I see this as maybe your husband is concerned about it evolving into a bigger thing that will take you away from enjoying your honeymoon together, and I would have the same concerns. But at the moment, it's only been just over an hour of phone calls. 30 minutes sister, 30 minutes brother, 13 minutes grandma, so he need not worry. Congratulations, and enjoy your honeymoon. OP replies, this actually probably makes the most sense. He wasn't bothered by my sister's phone call last night and was equally concerned about my brother at the time. It wasn't until my brother called tonight, and then I called my grandma that he got upset. His frustration was probably coming from just that, the fear of the situation continuing and needing my ongoing attention. However, that is not the case. I provided some emotional support and as much advice as I could for my brother, which is all I can do right now, and made a plan for when I get back. I also called my grandma to get involved so that I don't have to be. I think my husband probably didn't see this as me doing what I could to get it sorted as best I could, so that it doesn't continue or escalate during the rest of our honeymoon. And Mother Tradition replies to OP and says, you need to add this to your original post so people understand that you actually did set boundaries. You listened to your brother, but you let him know that he had to wait until you got back for you to help him, and then you called your grandmother to make sure that he has someone to support him while you're gone. You had to find a balance between prioritizing your marriage and supporting your family, and I think you did a great job. My boyfriend, 29 male, wants my daughter, 6 female, to call him daddy. My ex Dean and I share 50-50 custody of my 6-year-old daughter named Santina. We broke up about 2 years ago on mutual terms and are pretty good friends now. Even though my ex and I are no longer together, he is a great dad to co-parent with, and he absolutely adores Santina. She is the apple of his eye, and she adores him equally as much. I've been seeing someone new, Aiden, 29 male, for the past 8 months. He's been very good to me, and I enjoy his presence a lot. We have not said I love you yet, but I can see it happening very soon. When we first met, I made it clear that I had my daughters 50% of the time, and that her father was very active in her life. Aiden was fine with this, and we got very close very fast. A couple of days ago, I went to pick Santina up from Dean's house, and Dean asked to speak with me privately before we left. He seemed pretty mad, which is very unusual for him. He told me that Santina had asked him if he really loved her or not. He told her that he does love her more than anyone, and wanted to know why she asked to begin with. She then revealed to him that Aiden had been pressuring her to call him daddy for the past few weeks without my knowledge, and that she should stop calling Dean daddy because Dean left us, which meant that he didn't love her as much as Aiden did. I was absolutely astounded and pretty furious. I told him I had no knowledge of this, but I would absolutely get to the bottom of it. On the way back to my house, I told Santina that I overheard Aiden asking her to call him daddy. I didn't want her to think that Dean had betrayed her trust by telling me, and asked her how she felt about it. She said that it made her mad because she already had a dad and didn't want another one, and that she was upset with Aiden for saying her daddy didn't love her because her daddy did love her. I reassured her that her dad did in fact love her more than anything on this planet, and that I would get Aiden to stop. She seemed visibly relieved. I tried to keep my face from revealing the pure rage I felt inside, because I didn't want her to think that I was mad at her. Later that night, after Santina went to bed, I called Aiden to tell him that he needed to come over to talk, and that it was very important. When he got to my house, I asked him how in the world it's okay to tell my 6-year-old that her dad didn't love her, and why he would tell her to call him daddy when she already has a very good one. He didn't skip a beat, saying that Santina needed parents who were together, that he loved her and I both, first time he's ever said this, and he's spent enough time and money with her that he should be allowed to help parent her. Therefore, if he was going to parent her, he wanted to be called daddy, and he wanted Dean to only see Santina on the weekends. I was absolutely floored. I asked why he didn't speak to me about this all first before he decided to go ahead and do this. He said that she was young enough to teach her to call him daddy and wanted to surprise me by having her call him daddy without me knowing that he coached her. Basically, as if she had just called him that all on her own. I angrily shut that down immediately, saying that he was just my boyfriend. He has no place expecting to be my father's daughter. He is way out of line, and I needed some space from him. I asked him to leave. He started yelling, saying that I was being absolutely unreasonable, that any woman would be happy to know that their boyfriend wanted to love and be a dad to her child, that I'm being an asshole depriving my daughter from having a relationship with him, that he would be a way better father than Dean. When he said that, I absolutely snapped. I told him there is no better father for my daughter than Dean. He is a great man and a great father, and that if he ever talks about Dean like that again, then we are through. He then accused me of still being in love with Dean. I told him to get out or I would call the police to have him escorted off of my property. I am totally flabbergasted, and I'm trying to figure out how I could have missed Aiden being absolutely insane, because only insane people would think this way. And I felt pretty confident that I was in the right, until today, when I received multiple messages and phone calls from his friends and family. One called me a moron for not accepting Aiden as Santina's father, since her real father was a deadbeat by not paying child support. I never wanted any. Another said that I shouldn't have defended Dean so much because it makes me look bad. His mother texted me and said that children should have parents who were together and that I should apologize to Aiden. His dad said that I was lucky that Aiden even wanted to be with someone who had a child and to be grateful that he wants to be Santina's father. I sent Aiden a text to call off his family and friends and that I want to take a break from him for a while. Now he's blowing my phone up, telling me to think about what's best for Santina, and that he loves us both and would die if he lost us. Who is this man that I've been dating? Did I jump into a parallel universe or something? Am I crazy for having reacted this way? Why is he so obsessed with my daughter calling him daddy? I have already called Dean and asked if we could stay with him for a few days because I didn't feel safe here, and he agreed. We're leaving to go in the morning. What do I do here? I do really care for Aiden. Even my mum said that I blew this whole thing out of proportion and that I shouldn't break up with him for a little mistake. Do I sound crazy? I need some advice on what to do moving forward. Thank you in advance. TLDR, boyfriend wants my daughter to call him daddy, but went behind my back to do so. Now he's mad at me, and I'm not sure if we should continue the relationship. Honestly, OP, your soon-to-be, I would hope, ex-boyfriend number 2 is so crazy, is so delusional, is showing ridiculous abuse and control signs, red flags, you might say. I don't think you're being the arsehole in this situation. I think he has skewed his story towards his friends and family and has sent the flying monkeys at you. Unfortunately for him and them, you seem to have your head too screwed on that no, none of this will affect you. I can absolutely see why you're questioning yourself with so much abuse coming your way, but here's my reassurance that you are not the arsehole in this situation. Everyone else is being fed lies and misinformation, and I genuinely think what he's doing is evil here. But that's just my 2 cents, not the arsehole. In the comments, Jikfilashkia says, "You haven't even said I love you to this man, and he's pressuring your daughter to call him daddy behind your back and telling your 6-year-old that her father doesn't love her? What more of a red flag do you need? And now his family is harassing you? Seriously, put your kid first. This one should be a no-brainer." And OP replies, "Thank you. I thought it was a no-brainer too, but everyone surrounding me seems to think that it's a sweet gesture that he took just a little bit too far, and that I'm overreacting. Dean is the only one on my side. There is nothing sweet about telling a young child that one of the most important people in their lives actually doesn't love them. Neither you nor your daughter deserve what he and his family are doing to you guys. Get out before things get worse. If you stay with this dude, you are a failure as a parent." And OP says, "Thank you for the harsh truth. I don't plan on staying with him. As soon as we go to Dean's, I'm putting a permanent end to it." Billowing Flag says, "The easy way to tell if you're overreacting is to look at how Santina feels about the situation. She was asked to keep a secret from her parents. She was questioned whether her daddy loved her. She was made to feel guilty for loving her mum and dad. Aiden's argument is that he's spent enough time and money to get to be her daddy? This reeks of the kind of guy who treats women like a sex machine. I put X amount of money and time in, and she owes me sex. He'll be quick to put Santina on the spot about not being loving enough, or grateful enough, or demonstrative enough to suit him. He's a transactional guy and a real piece of shit. Good on you for dumping his ass. Make sure you lock down all your social media accounts. Brad should too, when you block this asshole. VR Rogue 2022 says, "So Aiden is plain creepy crazy. You aren't wrong. Apparently it is learned behavior from his creepy family and friends, or he hasn't told them the whole story. Not sure what your mum's deal is. I'm a 46-year-old father of 2. You are not crazy. Your boyfriend crossed major boundaries and tried to alienate your daughter and Dean behind your back. You should drop him and not look back. Aiden is narcissistic." OP replies, "Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to rationalize everything that's happening, but I just can't find a good reason as to why he's doing this, or why everyone seems to be on his side. Everyone is concerned about how I made Aiden feel, but no one's concerned about how he made my daughter feel, which is infuriating. Who does this stuff? You don't know what lies he can be saying to these people. His mum called your ex a deadbeat." Loving Life at My Age says, "Good gracious, can anyone say creepy and weird? Please don't even consider resuming the relationship with this person. He's controlling and obsessive, and to be honest, I think he's got an unhealthy interest in your daughter." And OP replies, "I plan to have a serious talk with my daughter to make sure he hasn't crossed any other boundaries. Now that you said it, I feel like you're right. His interest is extremely unhealthy. He will never be around us again." Loving Life at My Age replies, "Just want to add, you sound like a fabulous mum." And OP replies, "Thank you. But after this scenario, I don't think I am. I should have broken it off immediately when Dean told me what Aiden had said. I regret not just telling him to go pound sand. When my daughter and I go to Dean's, I plan on permanently breaking it off." Back up to the post, we have an edit. "Once we get to Dean's house, I'm going to permanently break it off with Aiden. I really just wanted someone to say that I wasn't crazy for feeling this way, because some of my friends and family were saying that I overreacted, and I should be grateful that a man wants to be in Santina's life. It made me second-guess myself. I should have broken it off the second Dean told me what was up. Aiden exhibited creepy and inexcusable behavior. He will never see me or my child ever again. Thank you for all the comments, even the harsh ones. Sometimes you need people to tell you the hard truth. He doesn't have the keys to my place, nor is he on any pickup list for school or her extracurriculars. But even so, I'm going to reiterate to everyone he is not allowed anywhere near her, and Dean is going to help me change the locks just in case. I'm also going to reevaluate which friends and family are allowed around us, as some clearly don't have my best interests at heart. I'm also going to put Santina in therapy just to make sure there is no lasting damage. There are no words to explain the guilt I feel." Edit 2. We went to Dean's place first thing when Santina woke up. She was happy to go see her dad again so soon. When we got there, Dean and his mum were both waiting for us with breakfast. After we ate together, his mum kept an eye on Santina while Dean and I went shopping for new locks and some security cameras. I sent Aiden a message on our way to the store and permanently ended things with the threat of law enforcement if he contacts me or tries to contact my daughter. I then blocked him on everything. We are now on our way to set this stuff up at my house, but we're still going to stay at Dean's for a few days just to be safe. Thank you to everyone who commented and helped reassure me that I was not losing my mind. And now, onto the update, titled, "Update on my now ex wanting my daughter to call her daddy." It's been a week since I broke up with Aiden for his creepy and inexcusable actions with my daughter. Santina and I have been at Dean's since then. I have received non-stop harassment since I broke up with Aiden. Him, his family, and his friends have been blowing my phone up, threatening me, and every time I block someone, they contact me with a new number. Apparently, he saw the post and went absolutely berserk. When I went to my home to get some clothes for myself, Dean has plenty of clothes for Santina already, there was an 8-page letter, front and back, taped to my door. It basically said how upset he was for airing this out online, that he feels betrayed, and then he ranted about how Dean was trying to keep us apart. At the end of the letter, it said I would be sorry if I didn't contact him. Dean has since asked me to stay with him until further notice, which I have no issue with, but I honestly think I'm being stalked. Sometimes I see a car similar to Aiden's car, but I can't tell who's in it. I'm not sure if it's just paranoia, but I feel like someone is always watching me. It doesn't help that Aiden's mum was caught trying to sneak into my work to talk some sense into me. I went to the police to report the harassment, but was told that there is nothing they can do. I've pulled Santina from daycare for the time being, and Dean's mum has been watching her because I am so paranoid, and I feel awful about it because she keeps begging to see her friends. I don't want to scare her by saying she might be in danger. I broke down to Dean last night about how terrified I was and suggested that he take Santina to his father's home in another state just so she can be safe. He calmed me down and told me that it was a great plan, but that he was worried to leave me by myself. He's going to talk to his dad about all 3 of us going, but if not, I never really got along with his dad, I'm going to insist that he go. I already put my daughter in enough danger by even dating that psycho, and I refuse to put her in any more danger. I sent pictures of the letter to my mum with a message, "Still think that it's just a small mistake?" And she hasn't answered me yet. She's a prideful woman, so I doubt she'll ever admit that she was wrong. I'm so exhausted from all of this, and I feel like I'm completely losing my mind. Dean has been a frickin' champ though. He's taken a leave of absence from work due to a family emergency. He's been taking me to work and any other place that I need to go, but his girlfriend is not happy with the current arrangement. I try to be as kind as I can, and she understands the situation, but she's not shy about letting me know she doesn't want me there. When she found out that Dean wanted to take both me and Santina to his dad's, she just about had a heart attack. She hasn't spoken to him all day, and she won't answer his calls. I feel so guilty about this whole thing. I put my daughter in danger by dating Aiden, and now I put Dean at odds with his girlfriend because I was stupid enough to date a psychopath. So that's where I'm at. If anyone has any advice about how to let Dean's girlfriend know that I mean no harm, and that I'm not trying to steal him away from her, please share. I just want to make things easier on Dean since he's done so much for me. I'm sorry if this seems like a ramble, because it definitely is. Thanks again everyone for commenting on my previous post. In the comments, on concerns for her daughter, OP says, "Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to rationalize everything that's happened, but I just can't find a good reason as to why he's done this, or why everyone seems to be on his side. Everyone is so concerned about how I made Aiden feel, but no one is concerned about how he made my daughter feel, which is infuriating. Who does this stuff?" On her ex Aiden and what family think about it, OP says, "Thank you for saying that. My mum thinks that staying with Dean isn't a good idea because Aiden is bound to find out and he'll get even angrier. She thinks I could have handled this better and was even surprised that I wasn't okay with him wanting to be called daddy. To me, 8 months is not enough time for him to think that he can be involved in my daughter's life that way, but everyone else is acting like I'm out of my mind. I thought it was a no-brainer too, but everyone surrounding me seems to think that it's a sweet gesture that he took just a little too far, and that I'm overreacting. Dean is the only one on my side. He didn't meet her until we were dating for 6 months, and he seemed so normal. Other than this, he's never said or done anything that would make me believe he could act this way. Dean even met him and liked him well enough, but you're absolutely right. I'm questioning my own judgment for not just breaking it off immediately." Further in the comments, Dazed and Confused says, "Please file a police report about the harassing phone calls and texts so there's a record. The threat might be enough for a protective order if the cops in your area aren't lazy. I'm so sorry that you and Santina are going through this, but you're doing a great job. Please stop beating yourself up. You didn't know what Aiden was truly like. He deceived you. But you acted as soon as you knew something was off, and that's important. Santina will always remember that you had her back, that you believed her, and acted on her behalf. She'll eventually forget about Aiden, but she'll definitely remember how it felt that Mum did have, and always will have, her back." Yes to filing a police report. Go to their website and use the non-emergency form. You are not doing this so they will do something immediately, you are building a case. Document everything, every last thing, him, his family. Do not respond to texts, but don't block those either. You need them for evidence. Social media blocks are okay though. This is absolutely critical. Go to your local court jurisdiction and file an order of protection. Bring the letter, your police report, your documented timeline, your statement that he does not have permission to contact you, nor contact through others. If you do not know which court to go to in your area, DM me and I'll give you instructions on how to figure it out. If he violates that order, then you call 911. Then they do something because now it is a criminal issue. Check your car for GPS devices, magnets externally, or even places somewhere before you broke up. Look for AirTags too. You are being stalked. You and your daughter and her father are at risk. Please do not let anyone minimize this. Do not listen to anyone who tells you that you are overreacting, even taking all precautions, and I commend you for doing everything you've done so far, including and especially listening to your gut when others try to gaslight you. Even then, you are at risk. Order of protection as soon as the courts open tomorrow. You gotta love how everyone was like, Santina needs a dad in her life, but just gloss over the fact that the creep said Santina doesn't love her and he's not a real dad because he left, while asking her to keep it a secret. Good on OP for putting her daughter first. Adults telling children to keep a secret from their parents is a massive red flag. Yup, there's some serious grooming behavior going on here. Predators groom the people around their victim just as much as they groom the victim. This is a textbook example of that. Like every single box is ticked. Well, that's terrifying, and there doesn't appear to be any other updates just yet, so if there are more, I would love to cover it more and I hope that there is a happy ending to all of this. But as it stands right now, all we can do is hope for the best for OP and that things do not continue to escalate from here because my god. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'd love to know what you guys think about this one in the comments down below. Should I ask my math teacher to adopt me? This might be a kind of confusing story, and I debated posting this, but decided why not? So I, male 15, and my math teacher, who I will call V, is female 35, and her husband is male 40. My real parents are, or were, abusive alcoholics and drug addicts. They got arrested last year, and I was going to enter the foster system. I had already told V about my struggles with my parents, and I confided in her about me going into foster care, so I guess she jumped in, and her and her husband somehow became my foster parents. I absolutely love living with them, and I feel like I have a true family for the first time in what feels like forever. I really want to ask them to adopt me, but am unsure of it. For one thing, I'm incredibly nervous and very unconfrontational, and second, I know the foster system gives people money to take care of the child, so maybe they would just be better off staying foster parents. Also, they already make quite a bit as my foster dad is a doctor. I just don't know what to do. Could anyone please give me advice? My advice is just ask them, OP. Just breach the topic and see what happens, because more likely than not, it appears that they're going to say yes and do it. So from me to you, I wish you all the best, love, and immense joy. That's my advice. In the comments, Chemical Geekery says, even if you don't want to straight up ask them to adopt you, just telling them this: I absolutely love living with them, and I feel like I have a true family for the first time in what feels like forever, is going to mean the world to them. Please tell them this. Adopting you might not be an option at the moment because your parents first need to have their parental rights terminated. This may not happen right away, but if you tell them that they feel like your true family, I bet they'll do everything they can to adopt you. If OP is in the US, they can seek emancipation, which is basically termination of parents' rights initiated by or on behalf of the child. Kid, you've made a grown man cry. I am so happy for you that you've been shown love so much that you want them to be your parents. Tell them. They might not be able to for a various amount of reasons, but they'll appreciate it so much. Whether they can adopt you or not, I have a feeling that they'll be with you for life. Math teacher here, who adopted a 15-year-old student of mine, 10 out of 10 would recommend. That was 16 years ago, and she's getting married in September. LilyBet89 says, in the end, whether they do or don't adopt, financially or morally, I think it's such a huge thing to even tell them you'd want that. It shows how much they mean to you and can only strengthen your bond. Buddy, there are some shitty people who abuse the foster system for money, yes. But a teacher who jumps in and becomes a foster parent for a student who confided in her about his fears? She isn't one of them. I'm confident of that. Ask them. I'm a pretty tough guy, and my eyes are welling up reading this. I have a feeling that they'll break down. They may not 100% be able to. The expense is ridiculous, considering the need for parents, but the fact that you consider them parents will mean a lot. And Maritime Oliver says, one of my closest sisters isn't blood related. She was our babysitter, and her parents died in a fire. She became a ward of the state and lived with us all through college. My parents never adopted her, and while I'm not sure why, there are many variables. It doesn't matter. She's my sister. My mom introduces her to people as her daughter. My point is, no matter what happens, it doesn't define who your family is or who loves you. Your foster parents sound like some amazing people who have shown that they are there for you. Good luck, OP. And now, on to the update. They said yes. I finally get to have my happy ending. It was a very emotional moment, but honestly, I'm so happy I get to have a real mom and dad. Thank you everyone who responded. It meant a lot. And in the comments, Nina216 says, I know people always say we don't deserve dogs, but I think we really don't deserve good teachers. They are some of the most caring, dedicated, and wonderful people on earth. They reach into their own pockets to pay for supplies that enrich the classroom experience. They suffer abuse from every direction: parents, administration, legislators. They show up every day and do their best to inspire and motivate their students, and they usually paid very little to accomplish that. If you have a good teacher, you'll remember him or her for the rest of your life. Man, every child abuse survivor dreamed of having a Matilda moment of being saved and rescued from an abusive home like this. So happy for OP, but if you're also a survivor and feeling that ache, I'm here with you. We all deserved to be rescued. Would I be the asshole for dropping out of a wedding when it's 2 weeks away? I'm 29, male, and have a long-term girlfriend of 3 years, Hannah. My friend Kyle is getting married later this year. I agreed to be a groomsman, so it's me, him, and there's other dudes. I was disappointed when I found out I wouldn't have a +1 for the wedding, but at the time, I thought the same went for the other guys. Come to find out last weekend that the 3 other groomsmen do have +1s. 2 of them have been in relationships for less time combined than me. The other guy is single and was complaining about not finding a date to bring on Tinder, which is how I found out. I asked Kyle what's going on. Why do they have +1s but I can't bring Hannah? I find out this. So I'm walking down the aisle with my bride's sister Lisa. Lisa is developmentally disabled. She's in her 20s, but mentally she's about 10 years old. Kyle says it's because they don't want to piss off Lisa. Her parents figure she will never marry or have a boyfriend, so they want me to come solo to give Lisa the impression that I'm single. Basically, they want me to be a pretend boyfriend for Lisa. If I come with Hannah, that will make her jealous. I'm really not comfortable with this. Lisa is a nice girl, but I don't like that I'm tricking her into thinking that I'm someone that I'm not. It's scummy to make someone believe I'm her boyfriend when I'm not. Plus, what if Lisa meets Hannah in the future and finds out we're together? She has already gotten in trouble in her adult care group for fighting with another girl over a guy. I told Kyle and his fiancée Claire that I'm not okay with this. They told me that I need to suck it up for a day because this will mean a lot to Lisa. I'm not comfortable playing pretend boyfriend, especially for someone who thinks that we are the real deal. I want to drop out at this point. Wedding is 2 weeks away. Would I be the asshole? Honestly, my opinion, I don't think you would be the asshole for this. The bride and groom are being unnecessarily deceptive towards Lisa. She doesn't deserve that, and you don't deserve to be put in a situation like that. If you want to drop out of the wedding altogether, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to participate in something like that. So I'm gonna say not the asshole. In the comments, Salt Spray Rose says, you would not be the asshole. Your points are more than valid. Besides, one of the groomsmen is actually single. If they want to conduct this farce, why don't they pair her with him? Because he wouldn't agree to it, probably. Groom thinks that OP is only worth having if he participates in a farce. Very disrespectful, and OP is not the asshole for pulling out. Could also be that the sister has a crush on OP and not the single groomsman. If that's the case, dangling OP in front of Lisa like a carrot on a stick would only make the farce even more heinous. Yeah, it's cruel to her, rude to Hannah, and a shitty thing to do to OP. I hope your talk with the groom went well, OP. You would not be the asshole. This is awful. To unwittingly use a guy like that without warning. What kind of weird, unethical, presumptuous people are they? This sounds like something out of Arrested Development. Not the asshole. Their plan is cruel to Lisa and just plain nutty. Right? Like, obviously not the asshole for OP, but I'm more curious at these people just out here living their lives like it's television. No one in their right mind would, 1, inexplicably not give a groomsman a +1, even though he is in a committed relationship and all the other groomsmen got +1s, and then expect him to just not notice? 2, plan an elaborate fake boyfriend narrative. 3, not tell the main participant in this false narrative that it is happening. Like, what was their plan? 4, decide that steps 1 to 3 were somehow less complicated than not doing them. You know those people who say on their dating profiles that they don't want any drama? These are those people. Oh, they know he'll notice, but it's their day and are counting on the fact that he'll go along with it rather than cause a scene. Afterwards, I guess they don't care if he stays their friend or not, but probably think they can guilt him into not cutting them off. They sound exhausting, and no one needs friends like this. Why wait until after the wedding to cut them off? They've shown OP who they are. Back up to the post, we have an edit. You guys are right. This is really effed up. I called Kyle just now and told him that we need to talk face to face. I'll update if anything happens. Edit 2, I'm about to confront Kyle. Pray for me. And now, on to the update. So I'm going to need some time to calm down. My friendship with Kyle is over, and whoever said that I got roped in because Lisa had a crush on me, you win. I'll fill you in when I've had a moment. I feel sick right now. I think I can say what happened earlier this evening. The more I read everyone's answers, the more I realized that this was really effed up. I already had a feeling that this whole Lisa wedding date situation was messed up, but reading everyone's comments reinforced it. I told Kyle that we had to talk, and he agreed. We met at his house. Claire was there. Lisa wasn't, thank God. Basically, I told them that I was dropping out of the wedding. I told them that setting me up as Lisa's fake boyfriend was beyond messed up. What did they think was going to happen after the wedding? Was I supposed to continue the charade or dump her, break her heart, and be the bad guy? Claire tried to explain what was happening. Something about how Lisa was upset and angry that she wasn't the one getting married. That wasn't the part that pissed me off. No. Want to know why I got offered up? It's because Lisa loves K-pop and is obsessed with Asian guys. I'm Japanese American, so that's why I got roped into being her fake date, and not my single friend who has to rely on Tinder to find someone. It is all some sick attempt at making Lisa feel better by hooking her up with the only Asian guy they knew. At that point, I had enough. I told Kyle and Claire that it was over. I wasn't going to the wedding. I never wanted to speak or see them ever again. There was a lot of screaming and crying. Claire asked me why I would do this to her sister. I barely even know Lisa, except for the few times that were wedding related. And that's where things stand. I don't know if they're going to try and paint me as the bad guy who broke Lisa's heart. I already told the guys that I'm not coming, and why. Who knows what the fallout from that will be? I spent the rest of the night trying to get a grip on myself. I still feel kind of queasy from this whole thing. This feels like one sick joke. I feel bad for Lisa because while I got out, she's still stuck with that shitty family. I think I'm going to spend Saturday trying to put this behind me with beer and a Brooklyn Nine-Nine marathon. Thank you guys for your help. At least I know that there are people out there who also think this is a terrible effing idea. Oh, I also asked why not hook up Lisa with Tucker, the single friend using Tinder for dates. It's because she said he was too ugly and hated his beard. I'm not going to tell Tucker that. He's going to find out eventually. In the comments, why would you do this to my sister? I didn't. You did. Another horrifying gem? Mentally, she's about 10 years old. So of course it makes sense to set her up with a 29-year-old man. Effed up is an understatement. What a mess. OP at least got out of that shit show. Lisa is stuck with an abusive, racist family. You're discriminating against her by not enabling her racism, says every racist asshole out there. And yeah, a lot of the comments are just repeats like that, so I want to chuck this to you guys. What did you think of that story? Because that's a whole mess. Me personally, I think it's absolutely fantastic that he's cutting those people off and washing his hands of this entire thing because, oh my god. Absolutely socially unacceptable, the enabling goes hard, and the racism goes even harder. Screw those guys, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below.